longer for James.
Last time was on Zoom.
Yeah, and I think he gets stressed.
He did come, he have been before, I think.
Alright, moving on. Minutes of the meeting and the personnel subcommittee and parish council meetings held on the 13th and the 28th.
So,
It's fine.
All happy?
Yeah.
yeah.
Public participation.
Only for your information, really, at the meeting before last, you were asked to provide a matter, a multi-use stand area, hard stand. Somebody said they wanted a hard stand and playing sports on.
Yeah.
Landry have got one, but they haven't had a single booking since April. It's only how much use it gets, that's all, but this time it's more in the winter, but this time there's nothing.
We got a ball court up at the playing field that cost about 15,000 quid and nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I think that's got about 100,000.
I was going to do it for 1 month. This is one of the problems, I'm afraid, with village life. People move in and they want this and they want that. And it doesn't get used.
Yeah, I think basically there, it's next to the school, it was built for the school really, but the village all paid for it.
But the school don't use it much either.
Did you say none at all this year?
No?
Did you say none at all this year?
Nothing's been used since April.
Since April?
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Industrial Development Speed Survey, which I could not download.
Yeah.
Sorry, say
I
again?
couldn't download that.
Could you not?
No, I might have to
Okay.
like it to talk to someone on
I
it.
didn't quite understand the website.
It's an island, right?
So we've got a bit there, haven't we?
I got a bit, I haven't got it all.
Absolute island.
Oh, I got it here.
It's
All this talk here about inundated with heavy lorries proves the absolute opposite.
I couldn't read that. And I couldn't understand why they got a picture of another.
no. This happened before the road closure.
He's back. No, he's
But he's
due
number
back
of cars.
Oh yeah, that was
entrance.
Quite
That's-
considerable.
not that bit of the road.
The actual entrance to
We'll be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the really always like a picture
Can
of
we,
interesting
can we
things.
concentrate on what we got here?
And the other interesting thing, here was the speeding. Hardly anybody was doing 40 miles an hour. They were all doing between 30 and 40.
well, I went
In
going
the
through
60
like
mile
this.
an hour area.
Yeah.
So should we not be engaging our county councillor? We have engaged and he's not ever responded.
I
The fact that we were looking for a...
I have engaged in as much as I've sent it to him, and I've had no response.
Well, I think we need to put a formal request in.
Yeah.
Now we have some evidence. And see if we can get that altered.
Stephen Sherry is doing that. He is making a representation to Devon Highways
On our behalf?
on our behalf. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's asking for it to be set at a 90-metre
That's a blow up.
splay based on the fact that this does not exceed 40 miles an hour
Quite
on
interesting.
average at the 85th percentile, okay, and which is how they calculate it.
Pass,
Have you
74.
had any notification of highways meetings at all?
No.
Because I haven't heard anything, and I just wondered, I'll have a look on the website. You haven't had any
Haytock.
notification?
Do you mean Haytock meetings?
Yeah.
No.
The regional ones.
No, we wouldn't be told anyway.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I don't get told.
I used to get them because I haven't been to the meeting too, then they drop you off the list.
Yeah, that may have been because you were part of the DALC. As a clerk, I don't get told.
I
Yeah.
used to get, I used to get the HOP meetings
Yeah,
emailed to me.
right.
If you're a previous member.
Oh, right, yeah.
If you drop off a month, then you drop you off the list.
Right, okay.
Okay, I'll have to,
They wait until there's a formal application.
I've no idea.
Start meeting, and then it seems a waste of time.
there's a formal HOP meeting, highways meeting, usually every,
It's on an area basis.
usually every quarter.
But what I don't know is whether or not this has to go through Haytock or whether it's decided by an officer.
Yeah, that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of lobbying some of the members of HOP.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah,
That's all the others.
yeah, well, if you can do that, that would be good.
Because that's work, because normally the county council is there as well.
Don't have Barry Parsons or Richard.
Right, okay. Clerk report.
Yeah, you had the usual bunch of reports this month, 30 odd, I think, 34. Just talk about one or two things. First thing I've got on my list, actually, I haven't got on that list. We talked at the last meeting about a social event.
Yep.
It's been booked for the 24th of August, which is a Wednesday. 7:30 in the evening at the Coach and Horses, either outside in the little garden, if weather permits, otherwise it will be inside in the skip alley.
It'll be raining by then.
And what I would like from everybody is a contribution of £12 a head from us. Not obviously partners are invited, and our new members of staff and their partners are invited. Okay?
What time have you got that for, Pat?
7:30,
7:30?
24th of August.
Is everybody coming?
No,
You're not coming?
no, I'll make a contribution to it, because I'm not coming, Sharon will come.
All right, well, okay.
And I don't blame her really, she heard all the foul mouth. She don't want to be part of it.
You mean, with the
She won't come, I don't blame her.
Civic
Okay.
duties?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to get into the
No,
Right.
just say why we're not coming. But I will make a contribution to the new people.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We had some graffiti incidents earlier in the month or last month. Just a couple of them. One at the village sign coming in along towards Barton Road, and also the BT cabinet on that corner. And some very kind-hearted souls cleaned them off very quickly. But I did report them to the police because I wasn't sure what we could do about it, if anything. I've been advised that it is criminal damage. The owners need to report it. In one case, it was us. You should report it on 101 or on their online website. And hopefully, it will stop it happening again. There haven't been any more incidents, so maybe somebody realised it was a bit of a futile effort and has stopped.
What regard?
Depends on whether it's local or somebody visiting.
What graffiti are we talking about?
I can't imagine a visitor coming along with a spray can, really. But yeah.
I keep sure she didn't send me a copy of the letter. I'll get one off of Doris.
One of the other things off the list here, Devon County has got a new community grant fund. They've launched this community fund for grants of between, I think it's £500 and £3,000. And basically it's for anything that benefits the local population. I just wondered whether or not we could put in an application to pay for the difference between the cost of the adult fitness equipment and what we've got in section 106.
Why not? Somebody throw money around.
It would be about £3,500. You happy for me to put a grant claim? We might not get anything, but I always think it's worth trying.
I'll always say thank you to any grants that's going there.
Well, so do I, yeah. DALC, it's their annual general meeting on the 5th of October. I've booked 3 places.
Yeah.
It's also the deadline for nominations for the 3 vacant directorships and for any motions that you want to put to the AGM. So if anybody's got anything on that line that they're interested in, then just let me know, okay?
That's up to the race course again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, extra race course.
So we've got one vote, haven't we?
You have one vote, no
Yeah.
matter how
Yeah.
many people are going, you have to decide who's going to vote.
Yeah, so we'll sort that.
Who have we got it booked for?
Oh, we don't... who's going to vote for?
You've got 3 places booked.
There's 3... Oh, I see. There's 3 places booked for the conference.
Yeah,
At the AGM,
yeah,
we as Buckland Brewer have 1 vote.
yeah.
And I would expect David to submit that vote because he's the representative.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which members have you got booked in?
Oh, I see. Yourself, David, and Joe.
And Joe? That's
Yeah.
okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I could book more places if anyone else wants to go.
Interested? Okay. I'll drive.
It's what I'll be good at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Telephone box. I've been given an assurance by Phil only 2 days ago that he'll finish it by the end of the week. So I'm expecting it to be done any time by December, really.
I saw him today and he said, oh, I'll be finishing it. Because I was wondering about
Yeah.
here.
He might have seen the weather now and changed his mind, but that's what he promised me earlier in the week.
Yeah. It was on his mind anyway.
That means putting a support on the outside for the defibrillator and putting racking inside for the library. As soon as the racking's in there, I will get it stocked with some books. I probably won't be able to fill it up, so if anybody else has got a few books that they would like to contribute, then just come along and stick them in on the shelves. I will put up a few little sort of...
Be careful what you wish for with books.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I'll
church
keep...
had that problem
Don't worry,
in
I'll...
the church when she set up the library.
I will... Yeah,
Hundreds.
yeah, okay, I'll keep my eye on it. What I don't want to see is for it to get too messy. Don't mind what people put in it or take away, but it'd be nice to keep it tidy. And yeah, the electrician is booked to do the removal of the defibrillator, and he'll do that just as soon as he can after it's ready. He's also going to be doing the one at Thornhill Head,
Yeah.
and Mark has already been in touch with contractors to sort out the groundworks that need to be done. As soon as all that's done, and the board is up at Mark's house, then we'll get that one in.
Does that need a shelter or anything for it?
No, it doesn't need a shelter. It'll have a box. It'll be a box just like the one we've got.
I didn't know if it
Yeah.
needed a...
No,
or they need a
Most of them don't.
no. They're designed to be outside and they're weatherproof, so it shouldn't need it.
Okay. Just asking.
I've already got the defibrillator. I'm still waiting for the box to turn up, but that should be here within a week or so. Standing orders. A little while ago, I think I said to you, we needed to amend standing orders because we're no longer part of the EU. I have done that now. I thought I'd sent it to you about a month ago, and then I couldn't find today the email that I thought I'd sent, so I sent it again. I'm sorry if you've got it twice.
All 22 pages, eh?
Yeah, sorry. I'm sure you've read it, every word of it, Jim. Are you happy to adopt that revised version? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it through.
Well,
I'm sure you did send it a month.
I thought I had. Yeah. Maybe I just couldn't find the email. You've got it again anyway. It will be on the website, so if anybody wants to just look at it either on the website or whatever, you can find it. Civility and Respect Pledge. This is the NALC and all the county associations and the SLCC working together. They've come up with this pledge that they would like all parish and town councils to agree to. What's it? I know that I've got a copy of there. Have you read it? Are you happy with it?
Yes, I have read it. It's not too onerous. Everybody had a look? Happy?
Yeah? Approve that? Yeah, jolly good. Another one I need approval on is the training and development policy. Having got round to doing some new contracts of employment that say that we're going to give people a copy of our trade, that's the one. I realised we didn't have one, so I've written one, okay.
Yeah, I have.
Has everyone read that? Is happy with that?
I have read it.
What I have done with this is based on the NALC model, but the model is designed for employees. I've made this relevant to employees and councillors on the basis that we're all agreed, and we always have been, that the councillors should be equally well trained, okay? That's that one. And that's it from me.
If, in terms of study leave, what the councillors want to do something was, I was going to say, not slightly off the ball, but not in mainstream, but would be of useful to Buckland Brewer Parish Council, then I would assume that they would get financial support for that, wouldn't they?
I think if it's one of those things that is, it's not directed specifically at councillors, and it's not obvious that it's for councillors, you'd need to get approval, and minuted approval that the council would be willing to pay for it, either through the personnel sub or at a meeting, rather than just ask whether the clerk's happy to pay the bill, just for, you know, the clerk's protection really. But I can see that there are some things where there's a knock-on effect where the parish council would benefit.
Things like it.
Yeah,
Bits of training here, there, and everywhere that aren't
yeah.
necessarily on Dow's website.
No, but there could be all sorts of things, couldn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, if it comes to parish council, there's no reason why it can't be
Yeah.
I mean,
approved.
with Chapter 8 would be, Chapter 8.
Oh, Chapter 8 would definitely be, yeah, that would be
something
covered.
like that,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Are you done, Pat?
I'm done, thank you. Yeah.
Contractors traffic through the village.
Well, I reported at the last meeting, I spoke to Diane, and she was going to talk to drivers about the speed limit in the village and also down over Orley Hill. But as you know, you've not seen any for a week because they contracted ended last Wednesday. So that's it.
There'll be plenty more to come. I don't know whether you are aware that lorry maximum speed limit went up possibly 2 years ago. It used to be 40 mile an hour on a single carriageway, and it's now 50 as a maximum. I just mention that in passing. If you think lorries are going faster, they are. Choice of letter bins for the amenity field.
Yeah, I don't know that I sent this to everybody. I think I might have only sent this to Andrew and Trevor.
Yeah.
Don't recall seeing it, but then I might have skipped it anyway.
Oh, right, okay. I wanted some feedback really on what kind of bins we want for the amenity field. Do we want them a great big one? Do we want little ones on posts? Do we want them stuck in the ground? They come in all sorts of shapes, sizes and costs.
I mean, I was thinking of one up by the small gate up top,
Mm.
and that one will probably get used by half the school kids when they come in and out,
Yeah,
and one down by the big gate,
yeah.
which could have been probably a smaller one. So I don't know what the advantage is. Two the same size, two bigger ones, two smaller ones.
Okay.
The problem I see it, Chair, is not so much what you have when you have it, is who's going to be responsible.
Who's going to empty it?
We'll have to test the waters on whether they're empty or not.
Well, they emptied the one on the green, don't they?
Ah, yeah, but will they go in? They empty the dog bin round by the playing field, or amenity field. But that doesn't mean they'll empty the other ordinary
No.
rubbish ones. We'll have to inquire.
Yeah.
I have inquired, and again, I get no response from anybody, no phone calls back.
Need to get hold of
I think I'll give that one to Phil Pennington and ask him to,
Bill,
chase it
try
up.
and get hold of Richard Doré,
yeah,
Richard Hayes.
yeah. Otherwise, we're going to have to empty them ourselves.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to go around.
Whichever it is, we'll have to do it. If it's going to be us that empties them, then I suggest we have the bigger ones.
Yeah.
And whatever posts are required to fix them in the ground.
Okay. Yes, could do. Yeah, yeah. You talk to Richard. I'll talk to Phil.
Okay.
We do have another district council, you know.
We do.
We do.
Didn't you know that?
I do. I knew that. Yes. Yeah.
Transport survey.
Telling us nothing that you already know, Chair,
Oh.
in terms of use.
Well, we discussed it already, didn't we? 'Cause we've got
Uh,
the
I mean, we've got 2 buses a week. Oh, well, we've got buses in the mornings and colleges now, but Devon County Council subsidises that by about over £300 a week.
Yeah.
So,
How much longer they've got, I don't know.
well, there's no indication they're going to stop it. Although on Monday, there was one passenger picked up in Buckland and taken back down the road, back down Parkham Road, down to Parkham.
And that was it, wasn't
And
it?
that was it.
Mm.
I mean, you're in a catch-22, aren't you? Because, I mean, who's going to catch a bus at 10:25 on a Monday morning and a Friday morning and spend an hour and a half in Barnstable, because that's all you get, and come back? I own the bus for the kids in the morning goes as far as Bedford.
Hmm.
I still can't understand why the bus from Buckland goes all the way to Barnstable.
Yeah, all it needs to go is to go into Bedford, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can catch the
The
other
other
buses
the
there.
college one only goes into Bedford, and the one at 8 o'clock in the morning. 10:30.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been talk of communities getting together and getting their own community transport. But with great respect, the parish councils around here is dying or died in terms of, you know, Barbara and I have been to meetings in the past and hopeless, just hopeless, trying to get any interest from the parish councils. Because we just don't have the resources to do it on our own.
Community buses are very expensive to run.
There are other alternatives like Bring and Ride and the Torridge volunteer cars,
There is, yeah.
and some people use those. But there's certainly no evidence really that the 372 bus is used by anything more than a very small hardcore of people.
And those that use the bus pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I
Yeah,
still get paid for that, can't I?
Oh, yeah.
yeah they still, yeah.
I mean, the bus pass is neither in nor there.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
It's a question of usage, and it's the same old thing. We've had this with the village shop,
Mm.
use it or lose it.
Yeah,
And the same thing like with the
Mm.
bus if we're not careful.
Mm.
That's why we've got atrocious service now, because we don't use it enough to warrant it being
Yeah.
upgraded.
Yeah.
And they won't upgrade it with a proof of usage.
Really want another austerity budget, like it's destroyed the 5-day-a-week bus, and we're going no bus at all, huh?
Well, they've already got plenty of evidence that it's not viable, so, you know, they could cut it at any time, couldn't they?
Quite easily.
Mm. But I don't know that there's anything that you as a parish council can do, really.
No,
It's,
like Andrew said, use it or lose it, don't
Mm.
go worry about it.
mm, yeah,
Yeah, if people want to retain it, they've got to make use of it as it stands and push for something better, if that's what they want.
yeah.
I don't know whether there's enough people in the village here that go to work for 8 o'clock that would use it if there was an early service. You know, an 8 o'clock and a 5 o'clock. Well, 5:30 and 4:30 or whatever.
There's a few people who say that they might use it if the timetable was better, or if there was an evening or a weekend.
It's always what if,
But you'd have to make so many changes to the timetable and how many buses run to please those people that it just would be,
You're not going to get
it
that.
would never happen.
If you do anything, you maybe get one change
Mm.
or one time of the day,
Mm.
but you won't get it to colour multiple times.
No.
They're not going to run multiple buses.
No.
Perhaps the council gives us 300 quid a week to, then we could run like a shuttle bus from Buckland to Bedford. Do it several times a day.
Yeah, yeah. That £300 won't last you a morning.
That won't last far.
Who's going to maintain the bus?
That's a day's money.
That's it.
I don't know what the answer is, I'm afraid, to public transport in villages.
You think things will change now petrol is getting so expensive?
No.
You think that people are finding it very expensive? Will that force them to change their habits?
I still think the most difficult bit is people start time for work and leave what time they leave. I mean, if you worked in a factory, you may have got a 7 o'clock start, 7:30 start. If you worked in an office, you may have got an 8 o'clock start, 8:30 and then 9:30 or 9 and a half past. You've got all these variations on start times and finish times, anywhere from 3:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And you've got the problem since COVID, you have a lot of people not going back into the offices 5 days a week.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you've got all these variations of times, and you're only talking of one bus, and it's not going to accommodate all these different people. So, if you're lucky and you put it on for 8 o'clock into Biddyford, you might get 2 or 3
Mm.
out of all of.
And that's all you would get. Yeah, yeah.
That's the problem. I think the bus will just do what it does and die, and I don't think there's anything we can do with it, unfortunately.
And I think the post office line goes somewhere.
I don't know what we can do, Pat. I really don't.
No, I don't. No.
But keep questioning county councillors to see if they come up with some bright ideas. But running our own transport is also fraught with problems as regards time. If you run a community bus for me yourself, what times are going to leave, what times are going to come back, how many you're going to miss. You can't win.
It's a very expensive way to do it.
People to use the bus is if you supply a service that the people find useful. Other countries, like Holland, what they do is they really, really increase the bus timetables, and people will come and use it. As soon as you start reducing the bus timetable, you will lose the people that will use it. So there's only one way of doing that is not the local government, but the London government, the main government, needs to put a serious amount of money in. If they are serious about people using public transport,
Mm.
by reducing the public transport, you will never get the public to use it. And as soon as you start to reduce it, you will reduce the numbers of people that use it. Until London will decide that they are actually serious about the environment and trying to make people use public transport and pay for it, it is not going to happen. And you can't make it a skeleton timetable with rural buses and then hope that people will start to use it. They won't. So I don't see how, as a parish council, we can come up with a policy that will change people's minds about using public transport, to be honest.
We'll stick it on the back burner for now, and if somebody can come up with some bright ideas, we're all ears and willing to try whatever somebody's going to suggest or talk it through at least and see whether we can go anywhere with it. Okay. Quotation for grass cutting at the playing field.
Is this our field or the plan for the...
No, the playing field. We pay for
Should
their.
this come out of their grant?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Go on,
We
then.
effectively we give them a grant, but we pay the bill. We simply pay the bill. But what's happened is that Mike Baker, who cuts the grass, has given us a quotation for two years in succession, in the hope of keeping the contract for 48 months.
Right.
Or 24 months, I can't do my maths. So he's given us a quote for next year, which is the same price for the current year, £1,050,
Yeah.
and a price for 2024 of £1,100, which he says that he will stick to if he gets a 24-month contract.
Not too painful then.
And this is, sorry, I just want to clear this is us paying the playing fields.
No, we
Or us
pay
paying-
Mike. We pay
to
Mike
cut
Baker.
the playing fields at the top playing field.
Yes, top. This is the playing field. Yeah.
And on top of that, we've got the grant request
For the insurance.
Yes.
insurance.
On top of that, we pay £800 for their insurance.
Well, in the old days, sorry, I don't want to labour this, but in the old days, the playing field used to pay for cutting their grass.
They do.
That's right. They did.
And
Yeah.
I think we ought to, you know, we're back up and running, they're raising money, we should be cutting back.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I think we should be giving playing field, but don't get me wrong, I should think we should be giving playing field grants. But, you know, they've now got a committee up and running,
Mm.
like we used to run the playing field, raising money, we used to have quizzes and the rest of it. And, you know, there's no point in them having a committee if all they do is send a letter to us and say, please parish council, could we have this for this for this?
Right. Okay.
The committee are active with maintenance and whatnot up there, and the money that's been raised is going to go to the playing area up there for the children that needed repair. We've got an inspection coming up, and what we raise is going to go.
2 years. Just to put things in perspective. 2 years ago, the parish council was very keen to support the playing field.
We were.
And took on
COVID.
and offered to take on
Yeah.
the paying for the playing field grass and paying for their insurance by way of a grant.
I've got no problems with making a substantial contribution to playing field and
Yeah.
paying their insurance, but the committee are up and running, we've got COVID behind us. I hope they've made a claim to the Bridge Trust for funds.
I believe they have. Yeah.
And if they
Yeah.
haven't, I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Looking at the income, I've not actually, I've got funds in 2021, 2,324, during that period of income of 1,671, and expenditure of 1,927. So I wouldn't say they're rich by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know what the accounts would be like at this moment in time.
Chair, I'm not saying
And
that
while
we
I'm
should.
talking about it, I ought to just mention that I do have an interest in the playing field, which I should mention just now. As a trustee, I'm not involved in the day-to-day costings, but yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Jim.
I mean, my view is, for instance, we could pay half the grass towards half the grass cutting. And because they're getting on, you know, to be fair, they've got a new committee, they're getting on the ground, they're starting to raise money, they're starting to do things. The committee's been more involved for a number of years, and they're doing a great job. But I don't want them to feel that all they do is come to the parish council, because there's other places where they can get money as well, which is the Bridge Trust. And I said, I didn't put any money in, make an application last year, it's before the time, to the Bridge Trust for money. And I said, I hope they've done it this year.
We have.
You have?
We have. Whether we'll get it.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Well, yeah.
But
When do we have to make a decision on these grants?
Today.
You need
It's on-
that tonight.
We don't have to. We've got grants on the agenda for today. You don't have to make a decision today, but they're on the agenda. This was a separate issue because we've taken on responsibility for paying this bill.
Just wondering whether we should get hold of the Secretary, Treasurer, and find out what their financial situation is at this moment in time before we rob them to the point of them not being able to afford to cut the grass.
I can get you those figures.
I understand your point completely,
Yeah.
but I'm also concerned with what the figures are here and what they've done in the way of fundraising won't be a great deal.
Hmm.
And I don't want to end up with it all being negative. If we
Well,
can
Nobody
help it.
does.
There's
No.
a lot of talk
No.
in the meetings that we have, but there's a lot of apathy as well.
Of course,
And it's very difficult to get anyone interested. any of the council or any of the other bits to help out, and that's the only way we managed to get it going. We were lucky. But I would urge you, with an interest in the field, to carry on as we are with the arrangement we've got, at least for a little while. I understand what you're saying, Jim, but I have to say we expect it to carry on at least for another couple of years, and we hope to until we get the playing area up to scratch.
That was about what I was going to say. The same effect. We carry on as we are for another couple of years and give them a chance and see what's happening.
I think we ought to take account, we ought to write them and say now with their committee, we would expect them to raise some money towards when the playing.
We will be trying, Jim, and don't get me wrong, we totally appreciate the help we're getting at the moment.
I've gone on with Trevor, so I'll just put that rider in there, so, you know, because I don't want this to go on and on and on and on. I mean, I know Richard, when he first came to us and said, was there any way that we could take over, the Parish Council could take over on the playing field? I understand where he comes from on that, because clearly it seems the logical thing to do, but we know for reasons beyond our control, that's not impossible.
Can we put this onto next month's agenda, please, rather than do it now? And then if Richard can supply us with some figures, we'll have a better understanding of what's required.
Yeah.
And
And
then
we'll look at the whole of the playing field
yeah,
next month. Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's the sensible way to go about it. I would remind those that are on the playing field now that think it's a burden. But when we originally started, there was 3 trustees and my mother. My mother did the secretary and treasurer. I did the draft, and I went round and borrowed tractors until we could afford a mower. And even then, I used to have to go around and borrow tractors to cut the grass. And I cut it, and the people, friends of mine, including some of the trustees, paid for the diesel out of their own pockets to cut the grass, and nobody else gave us a hand at all. I hope things had moved on and that a decent committee would have got together and managed the field properly. But we've still got this blasted apathy about the field. Oh, it's there, I want to use it, I want to put my dog on it and all the rest of it, but nobody actually wants to put some money in a pot to help run it. And it's time this really sort itself out to guard what it wants. Because you'll lose it, you'll lose a lot if you're not careful, because Parish Council can't continue forever and a day to put money into these things. People are going to start shouting in a minute about where our money goes.
Perhaps we should do like Fritherstock do, put a collection utensil there on the site. Collect loose change from the people that come there.
I tell you where you're coming from, Trevor, but I think as long as we make it clear that over the last 2 years we've recognised that, you know, they've had a moribund committee, not done anything, not raised any money, and they needed help. I think they could have actually got 10 grand out of Dorchester Council if they'd actually made an application. Like Village Hall and the Shopton.
Is that community grant still available to the likes of Plainfield?
Yes. Yeah.
What's that then?
Is that on a, that's on a general
I can send a copy of that to Teresa. But I mean, as a separate organisation, they can claim for grants from all sorts of organisations.
She's very active in applying for grants.
Which you don't necessarily know about this one is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If you can email it to Richard and then he can pass it on to whoever. Who's treasurer?
Sharon.
Okay, oh, that won't be difficult to pass on. Yeah, if you could make sure that Richard...
Well, Richard's got it because it's been sent out to everybody. So,
you need to
yeah.
have a look then, Richard, and see what's there and see what you can do with it.
Now, it sounds strange, but this guy that for the grass cutting, how quickly does he want to know that he's going to be engaged to do the grass cutting?
I don't think
Well, he hasn't supposed that it would take more than this meeting for you to make a decision, so he hasn't.
Right.
He hasn't told me that it's got to be done now.
Yeah, we're doing.
I would imagine if I said to him, we'll make a decision next month, he'll be happy with that.
All right, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking for 2 years anyway, so we ain't gonna worry about a month, is it?
Mm.
It's going to need cutting anyway.
Yeah. Well,
So,
they'll cut it.
we
Yeah,
can't.
they'll cut it.
He seems to be doing a good job,
It does. It's excellent at the moment.
and yeah, it's looking good. So if you've got somebody who's doing a good job and they're giving you a decent price, I'd go with it.
If the weather stays like this, he'll have a bonus, won't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
One cut in.
Okay. Leather bins, I think we've already dealt with leather bins, haven't we?
Yeah, we've done litter bins. We're on to grants now.
Grants now.
Grant applications 22, specific budgeted grants, other grants, and a new one for Thornhead and Methodist Graveyard. So the specific ones are the ones that we've got.
They're the ones that we list in the budget.
Yeah,
Things like the village hall, the community shop, playing field, those sort of things.
yeah.
Can I start the ball rolling with the village hall? I mean, we pay their insurance, and clearly we don't know. It was 990 2021 22. Do you know when you pay your insurance, Trevor?
It's usually November time.
So if it goes up, it's only going to go up to 1100, isn't it? Something like
Well, to be quite honest, if we're paying the £1,000, if it goes up, if they've got to pay an extra 20 quid even, yeah, when they've got funds of 140,000,
To be fair to the village hall, though, I think a lot of that money is earmarked for further development in terms of
I'm
the village
not
hall.
arguing with what it's earmarked for, I'm saying if they've got an extra 20 quid to pay, it's not end of the world, is it?
No.
We're paying £1,000.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just sort of.
So I don't think that's,
Right.
What we've done with the village hall in the last couple of years is that we haven't given them anything at this time. We've waited for the actual insurance bill to come in, and then we've paid the whatever the insurance amount is, which last year it was £990, and you had a debate as to whether they should get 990 or 1,000, and you decided on 990. Next year, this year it could come in at 1,050 or something, and you'll have the same debate.
depends on whether you need to have an exact sum for the auditor.
No, you don't need, no. What you put in your budget is your plan,
Yeah, I know.
but that doesn't mean to say you have to spend £1,000, or you can spend more or less, but you need to be aware of what impact that has on the rest of the budget.
I haven't got one issue with £1,000 if they want it now.
Okay. Yeah, so moved then.
£1,000
Yeah.
now? Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Which one else? What's the next one? I haven't got these in order.
Right, youth services.
Youth
is the next one.
services.
But I think it's really the top agreement, David.
Yeah, at the moment, but we're going to get together with everybody and try to see what else we can do.
Is this budget you've got here, you've got 2,880 quid in the bank, have you? That's separate from the chapel?
Yeah, completely separate account.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
One of the questions that Liz Randall asked me when we were talking about the graffiti was, how are you going to get a youth club going with teenagers?
That's what I would like to think about, so looking at how we do that. But but of course that will entail quite a bit of money, I thought.
Mm.
Because, you know, and that was one of the reasons why the drop-in was set up in the first place. There was a time when...
Well,
there
it's
was
been
pro-
it's
there
been
was-
called Youth Services, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Youth
yeah,
Services
but it's with youth
2018.
and children, really.
Mm.
But the youth bit, I mean, it started because there was quite a bit of antisocial behaviour. There was a group of youngsters who were causing a bit of problems.
You've got no, take it you've got no mentors to deal with it this time around.
No, because we were because the circuit was employing kind of Chris and Deb's who kind of set it up.
So you'd have
They
to
ran
start,
it-
start from fresh.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, and at the time, the parish council gave £1,000, which was a brilliant kind of to the project.
I'm not certain the parish council would have a problem in giving money if we can see something positive come out of it.
Yeah. Well, so that's why we started at the littlest ones, even before the born, really, and then we'd having a look at what.
How do you start before they're born?
Oh, they come to the toddler group
Mothers and daughters.
before they're born.
I'm just being a bit cynical.
So we're given £300 now.
We've been giving them £300 a year ever since the year got. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to see something further than David.
Oh yeah, so would I.
I don't know what is possible.
No.
I mean, we used to have a very good youth club here.
Yes, I know. In the past, when youth clubs were youth
Yeah.
clubs,
But there's no reason why there can't be youth clubs again.
Yeah, but certainly I mean, the amount of stuff that Chris and they were doing with the drop-in.
Yeah, but those were slightly different. Those wasn't youth clubs so much. They would do a lot of mentoring as
Yeah.
regards difficult children and problems they've got.
Well,
Yeah, but the youth club didn't do that.
No.
The youth club was a youth club.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
I would- I
it's
would
all
like-
stuff that we're gonna try to kind of look at and see.
I'd like to see something like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
club again because we've got money and that sort. Our money is the sort of thing that ought to go into.
Yeah.
There's probably grants that we can find to cover it anyway.
Mm.
That's
It would
fair
be
enough.
nice to see that.
Yeah, it would.
Cool. What was next, Jim?
Church of St Mary in Benton.
Church.
Well, it seemed last year we gave £500 in anticipation someone would go to Thornhill Head.
Last year we budgeted for £500
And what did they
because
have
on the basis that we thought that we were going to be supporting both of them.
Yeah.
We only got an application from St Mary and St Benedict and we gave them 300.
We didn't get anything.
We've got 500 in there again this year, and the church is saying they would like us to continue to support them. But the application that we've got from Thornhill Head comes on later, and I've dealt with it separately, because it's not just for a little bit of grass cutting, it's for some very substantial work to a wall, and we need to think about it very carefully.
Well, we'll move £300.
For the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain what we can do with this as a chapel.
I'll get there in a minute. Later on.
Is everyone happy with
Yeah.
300 for the church?
Yeah. And we deal with the other further down, do we? When we
Yeah.
come to
Yeah,
the
we'll
break?
come to that right at the end when we work out how much money we've got left, if any.
North Devon Records Office is the next one, Chair.
Now, with the North Devon Record Office, you made a decision 3 years ago that you would support them for the whole of the term of this parish council. at the rate of £200 a year.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't understand, we have, being the type of parish council we have nowhere to keep our long-term books. So all the registers, old minute books, everything else is put into the record office. So that if you wish to view it, any member of the public can go into the record office and view it. And it's kept for all the time in there. We haven't got to worry about it all getting lost around the parish here. It's in one place, end of story. So we donate £200 towards the cost of keeping the record office, library, building open.
There's a lot of Buckland veterans in the record office.
Should we keep it more or should we keep the same number?
We're a bit early as regards requests, aren't we?
Or we put it in the budget and now we press it.
I mean, I'm quite happy with 2, and I'm quite happy if you want to double it, you know, I mean, it's all part of the library service. I see, but it's going to be moved.
I think that they would be quite happy with our £200. I think what they've got is they've got offers from virtually everybody that uses them, which more or less gives them enough money to keep going. So they're not desperately looking for more money at the moment. But I just suggest that when you get to your next 4-year term, maybe that's the time to think about putting it up to 300 or 400.
Well, perhaps we'll get a request from them then.
Yeah, you probably will do, yeah.
Because we'll go to their AGM anyway.
We didn't get them last year, did we? You get them. Year before you went.
Yeah.
The next one is community shop.
Yeah.
We pay £1,000 towards their electricity. We're conscious of the fact we're going into a period now where the cost of energy is going to rocket. And I'm mindful of the fact that one of the assets of this village, key assets of this village, is the school, pub, the shop. And bearing in mind what a lifeline it was during the COVID epidemic, I think we ought to be looking to support them with more, in the sense that, yeah, they can have their £1,000, but we really want to be able to help them over this really rocky period they're going to have in terms of, there's all those chillers there, and that's going to be cheap in keeping that going for the village. And they're a key element of our emergency plan, is the village shop. So I think we should give them £1,000. I'd even give them £1,500, but perhaps we could get in touch with them, say in the first instance we will give them £1,000, but they're more than welcome to come back, because I understand that their contract runs out sometime in January, February, I think, next year. Their current energy contract, and that'll rock it, and they'll feel it.
I don't think you can look at the energy cost in the village shop at the moment. One of the problems is it will be a business rate, not a domestic rate. And business rates are colossal. I think we're going to need a second request from them with some proper statement of costs for energy. I don't dare it's going to be more.
But even if we give them we agree £1,000.
I'm quite happy for that for the moment.
And then we ought to be writing to them saying we are mindful of the fact, don't be afraid to come back to the parish council.
And ask for more.
Yeah.
The question is, do you want to put X more aside for it without actually giving it to them?
It might be a good idea.
Well, you can't effectively do that this year unless you take it from another budget.
Okay.
But I mean, you've got to, you know that you've got that sort of money in your general reserve. So
Yeah, we can take it to general reserve.
yeah, that's not a problem.
But you're right. I think we ought to. Then they can come to us and talk to us in some detail.
It'll be later on in the autumn when the
Well, as I understand it, I was talking to one of the committee members today, and she was saying to me that they're contracted with the current rate until the beginning of next year.
they've got a lock in, have they? Oh, that's good. Because business costs are horrendous.
But in my view, there's no reason why we should be telling them mindful of the fact that they will have pressures on their energy costs. They'll be very compatible.
Okay.
How much now?
Oh, we're sticking at that.
Sticking at 1,000?
£1,000.
1,000 now, but ask for more later.
And yeah, that would know that there would be more there if they're struggling. I haven't got it yet. I haven't got it yet. I don't know when we'll get it. You can tick, tick, tick.
What's the next one, Jim?
The next one is small grants. We've only stuck at £500 a year, and I'm wondering whether we ought to increase that. 1,000 in the budget.
Sorry, which one are we doing?
Right?
The small community grants.
Yeah. Small
Oh.
community grants.
Volunteer.
Come on, I don't know why my paperwork's a bit hot on this.
I mean, my own view is that we increase it to 1,000, and because things are getting tighter for people.
Mm-hmm. That's,
I'm good about that.
yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Do you think we're likely to get more from what we had quite a few last year, didn't we? 'Cause we did
We've had, you've got 3 here vying for £500.
Yeah.
And what you're suggesting, Jim, is that we divide maybe £1,000 between these 3. Is that what
Not
you're?
necessarily.
No.
You're not?
No,
Right,
because
okay.
That would be presumptuous in the same way that
Right, okay.
you know, they would get equal amount, but I think that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you want to increase it to 1,000, is that because you want to give?
No, I just think we need to, people will come along and
Cover more people, or more bodies.
We've given money to the volunteer TVES, don't we, before? Most years we do that, and also to the citizens advice.
Citizens' advice tend to come along at the end of the year, and in the past, we've set aside £50 to give them.
those sorts of things that come up, and I think if we put in the budget.
Oh, so that people can come along later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, a few years ago, what you wanted to do was to deal with all of the grants at one go at this time of the year. So that's why we do it the way we do.
Well, we've got more people looking for monies than when we get relatively.
What did we give TVC last year?
From memory, £250. I didn't write that down. Did I?
I'll move 300 then.
Doesn't actually say on it, does it?
I'll move 300.
Do we know how many people use it?
Yeah, quite a few people are going to use it. We've got 4 drivers in the village.
So they've got an operating loss of 6,250 grand.
It's a real struggle. I mean, they're terrible times with COVID.
I think I've said here, haven't I? These people have made a loss every year for the last 3 years.
They get quite a lot of help in the bridge trust.
I think we have 39 registered passengers within the borders of Buckland parish.
They would seem to use this service more than they use the bus.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, 39 people, yeah.
This is true. Well, you know what time you go, don't you?
Yeah, but it seems that more people make use of it than they do the bus.
During the COVID spell, they had a policy that only, it was all medical. Before COVID, it could be other things like if you want to go on holiday, believe it or not. I've taken people on holiday. And they've not brought that back, but it will come back. So it'll be other things other than just medical.
It's still medical.
No, sorry, my mistake that we gave them £400 last year.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
We'll do the, repeat it.
Stick it like that.
Stick it that then, 400.
400?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life education in Essex and Thames Valley. shortfall of £175. The students are both from Buckland and Parkham, so I'm going to suggest that we pay £87.50, which is half the amount.
What's that for?
It's
For this one, education
it's
of
to do
Wessex
with life
and Thames
education.
Valley.
The cost to deliver a
talk we're
health
giving to the
programme
children
to
at school.
To schools. Right.
School contribute approximately 66% of £540 a day. We need to raise the shortfall, which will be spending one day visiting schools, equates to a shortfall of £175.
I would have given them £75 until I discovered that it's applied to both Parkham and...
It's us and Parkham.
Has to go, yeah.
All right, to
We've also discovered very late this afternoon, because they've only just given me their accounts, that they've got £326, £920 in the bank. Last year they made a surplus of nearly £96,000, and the year before that £54,500. So they're not a destitute company.
Who's this?
Life Education, Wessex and Thames Valley.
Yeah, but we're looking at the shortfall that the school got paid. That's
The short, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it's what
They
school-
clearly don't make a shortfall on everything, because they've made £150,000 in the last 2 years profit.
So that's this company's delivering.
Yeah, they made a surplus for the year of 2021 of 95,000.
But the school have got,
Yeah,
the school have got to
This
pay for it.
With great respect, Chair, this piece come from the school, hasn't come from the company.
No.
No, it's come from the company.
Oh, this has?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought-
it doesn't come from the school, it comes from the company.
Right, so I've asked the organisation for some...
If this had come from the school, I wouldn't allow you to pay them.
The headmasters informed me that the Buckland Brewer and Parkham pupils will be attending the event, hence the quote number of 110 children.
No. Because they obviously, because school will get some money in their budget to kind of to pay
Yeah.
for this. But
Yes.
obviously it costs more than actually
Yes.
what they've been allowed.
Yeah.
Do you want
And the company gets other grants, and they do other work, which probably is a bit more profitable as well. It may well be that this one particular show that they do in primary schools does make a small loss. But
do you want to query this at all, the school?
I've done that already.
Oh, you've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
it?
yeah. I've been in touch with Matt just to make sure that this isn't a scam, and they genuinely are going to be doing this show, and they are. And it's Matt who's told me that it's going to be Parkham and Buckland Brewer at the same time.
And does he know about the £175 shortfall then?
No, he wouldn't. He would have no idea.
I don't know, because I've not been aware of that.
We have supported. I can't remember if it was this company or a different company, but we certainly have supported companies that have put on shows at the school in the past
Yeah.
with exactly the same sort of argument.
But the amount of money is legit and the company's legit.
It's legit. It's a legitimate company. They do a great job. They do good shows. They are not destitute. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Whereas with Torridge Volunteer Cars, if it weren't for people like us giving them the money, they would go broke. The Life Education will not go broke if we don't give them £87.50.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because it'll be money to the company, but it is actually for the school.
Yeah, it's for the benefit, but it's no different to giving money to the Scouts at Walsall, because there are children at Buckland Brewer that use the Scouts at Walsall. From you using that argument is
Yeah,
yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair, when have you got the governance meeting?
Beginning of September.
It's actually a way of the parish council supporting education without giving money to the school, which it's not allowed to do.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, it is £87.50.
Perhaps Parkham or something.
Perhaps I would give it to Parkham that they should pay out as well.
Any other proposal?
I'd pay £87.
No, I think we could. We've got a new headmaster who seems to be much more approachable, and it's good for the parish council to show that they're supporting them. the school. Now we've got a new good headmaster.
Yeah, I move them and pay £87.
Hang on. Any other, so what are you proposing?
I'd go with 75.
87.50?
Yeah, the split, the difference between us and Buckland.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay. 87.50.
That's fine, yeah.
the used coins.
Have we ever had a request from Go North Devon before?
Can't remember it,
I don't-
no,
I don't think so,
no.
I can't remember.
But apparently they've been going since 2014. What they haven't done is given us any sort of specific evidence that there are people in Buckland Brewer that use the service. They've done a blanket request to everybody in North Devon.
Could we ask the question then?
You could do, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a specific car transport for people who have got suffering
Cancer,
from
yeah, cancer care requirement.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for cancer treatment,
Yeah,
Mm.
which you go on a daily basis.
yeah.
What I find a bit confusing with people like this is that they say in their letter that they desperately need 60-odd thousand to keep going. They've only raised 8,000 and they need another 54,000.
Yeah, 54.
But then when you look at their accounts, you realise that they've actually got £250,000 in the bank. So it's,
Balance for 21, 262,000.
mm,
Perhaps if we ask them that question, they might come up.
Surplus for the year, 760.
mm.
Right.
If people from Buckland didn't use gold cards or gold North Devon, would they still get the same service from Torridge volunteer from
Yeah,
school?
yeah,
Volunteer cards.
yeah. Torridge Volunteer Charge will do that. I've been in Plymouth, I've been in Exeter.
What, do you want to try and find out something or let it go? I mean, I'm quite happy with the top. I know Torridge to it anyway. I don't know what people use this service.
I think this is a blanket request that's gone out to every local authority. If they had statistics about Buckland Brewer, they would have told us, and they haven't. We're already supporting Torridge volunteer cars. We know we get a good service from them. We know that they need our money. So I would be more inclined to give another £100 to Torridge volunteer cars and none to this one.
That sounds far
That's
better idea.
that's my view.
No, so put that from 4 to 5 on me.
We know
You make the
Torridge.
decision, not
We
me.
know who they are.
Yeah.
Do that. That's a good idea. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can get some lights in there.
Oh yeah. Get a bit dimmy fire.
See that last one.
Ooh.
Formula leather, so again.
Yes. Yeah, now Thornhill Head, they did come to us, I mean, it might have been 3 or 4 years ago, and said that they needed to do some work to some of the walls. And we asked them to go away and come back with some quotes. Well, they've now done that.
A lot of pushing.
They're saying, really, just to do the basic level of maintenance on the walls will cost between £8,000 and £10,000. If they want a substantial rebuild job done, and that's not to rebuild the whole wall, it's just to rebuild parts of the wall, it's £30,000 to £35,000. Now, you don't have any powers to give money to the church. And we use this anomaly that says that if it's a closed graveyard, it becomes the responsibility of the parish council. And that therefore, if you give some money to the maintenance of the graveyard, it stops it becoming a closed graveyard and becoming even more of a burden on the parish council. So we kind of get away with that, and auditors recognise that, and they don't query when you pay for grass cutting. Paying for substantial work to a stone wall, is that maintaining the graveyard? Okay, it goes round the graveyard, but does it need a stone wall to be maintained? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
I understood that Thornhill Chapel was closing in October.
In September, yeah, end of September.
So then the graveyard has got to become our responsibility.
No,
Well,
no.
that,
Graveyard will remain open because it's still, people will still be buried there.
that will be the question I was going to ask, is when it's sold, what will be sold?
The actual chapel.
Just the chapel, and there will be a fencing off the graveyard.
I don't know how we're going to do that, but
No,
yeah.
I don't know either.
So the graveyard will actually still be operational,
Right.
and it will join the other 8 or 9 that we've got in the circuit,
That's still
which
consecrated ground.
we will look after it.
So we don't have to look.
No, it won't come to the parish council yet.
Right.
Only if that fund or the circuit decide that they want to close it. And
Well, we've got several closed graveyards anyway, which we at the moment, and we intend to carry on.
But if you close them,
Yeah.
you can ask us to take them
Yeah,
on.
it could
That's
be.
the thing.
If they close it and sell it, they'll have some money,
It's,
do their own building.
yeah, they can fund it themselves, can't they?
So we get more than £30,000 for the chapel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we can't support them anyway, can they? And if they're
Well,
talking about selling that,
We can support it, but not to the extent that we can put in thousands of pounds
No.
for the...
I think from what they were saying is that they don't really know how much it's going to cost until they actually start doing it.
No, they don't, no. I understand.
No.
Once you start doing stone walling, especially that stone wall that's against the road,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
which is looking out from top to bottom out onto the road anyway, leaning outward because nothing's been done for it.
I mean, whatever we suggest is going to be a pinprick.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah, and I think they would be grateful for whatever is.
you
You know,
give
if we
them
can.
10,000 Yeah, you can give them £10,000, they wouldn't touch it.
No.
That's the problem.
And we
I
can
would suggest we wait until they've sold it and
yeah,
we look at it next year.
yeah. I agree with that, Trevor.
Yeah, I would like to see just what we're getting to make sure that the chapel's sold in the right way to preserve the churchyard.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I haven't got a problem with us looking at it again. But I still say what we can contribute.
But
If
then
we give them £1,000, what are you going to do with £1,000?
Mhm.
the chair that wall, I mean, if somebody turns the chapel into a house,
Yeah.
what happens then? I mean,
Well, that's it.
is that wall, is it the churchyard responsibility?
No, it'll be the churchyard, won't it?
Well, it'll depend on where the boundaries go.
Yeah.
You see, you've got barrels right in front of the
Yeah, I know. I don't know how the
chapel as well, right up to the road.
Yeah.
And the wall out on the road isn't very good either.
It's not.
So I don't know where it's going to go.
Trevor's got the right solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well done, Trevor.
I think it needs to be put on the back burner until we get something a bit more positive as regards to sale of the premises.
Yeah. But
In the meantime, I certainly wouldn't have objected if you wanted to give them some money to help with their grass cutting to maintain the churchyard. And if that means that they would have a couple of £100 extra that they could put towards something else, then all well and good.
We back as well, that we don't actually see. I mean, I've got a problem if you want to give them £400-500 towards grass, towards maintenance.
Could we clarify that before the next meeting?
Yeah, it would be nice if we had an application on that basis,
Yeah.
really, rather than to tie it into this.
This wall, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That can be arranged.
Could you do that?
Okay.
I mean, that's what we put the money in the budget for 2 years ago now, and then it's,
Somewhere in that sort of region,
Yeah.
if they ask for £400-500, I think that would be fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Something else on the grant plan?
Nope, that's it.
Woodland development.
Just a second. Before you move on,
Yep.
and you mumble and I don't hear what you're saying,
My apologies.
what happened to St Mary's up here? Or how much are we giving them for their grass cutting? Because it's here in our small grounds.
300.
300 is what you agreed?
Yeah, £300.
300.
Well, if we're going to start suddenly being very, very generous to Thorno Head, who are in the process of selling, didn't we ought to be being a little bit more generous to the church that's in use?
Give them a say.
How much is the grass cutting? Do you know how much grass cutting costs?
Well, they can't
Probably in
hold that
excess-
side, don't they?
in excess of
volunteers
1,000.
do that.
So yeah, I'm only volunteering to cut that bit up here.
1,100 a year is
Wild area.
Yeah.
in my head.
Hear through the grapevine, I don't know if it's true, that they've lost a few weddings because they've left it wild and people don't want the photos without them back. I don't know how true that is.
It looks terrible, it's a bad idea.
I think it was forced on them, wasn't it?
Well, I think they're running money, yeah.
By higher authorities in the church, who said that that's a good point when you're applying for a grant if you're rewilding.
It is.
It looks terrible.
It does look terrible.
I mean, if they're going to do away with the wilding bit and bring it back to some sort of management, I don't mind giving a bit more money.
It's still going to be managed. It still will be cut at some stage.
Yeah, I know, but it looks terrible.
It's like from that.
I spoke to the gardener today, actually, and he said the bit that's been left would only take him 15 minutes on top of what he was doing before. So, you know, it's, I don't know, it can't be managed.
No,
It's gotta be
it's
something other than
everybody wants to do wild areas and it's the wrong place to do it.
Grass cutting at the church last year was £1,000.
Sorry?
Grass cutting costs for the church last year was £1,000.
And we contributed 300.
Yes, yeah.
We could put it up. Do that.
Well, I just thought it looks a little bit unfair if we're going to make a
Well-
substantial grant to Thorno Head and not make a similar grant to
Could
what.
be substantial. We could find out how much they want in terms of grass cutting.
Sorry, Red, you'll have to speak
Sorry,
up.
sorry, Pat. Sorry. I don't think we're looking at any substantial grants for grass cutting.
Well, what were you thinking of?
Well,
We
I
don't
don't
know,
support £500 just as a blanket until we get some idea of the cost of Thornhill Head. To get a letter from Thornhill Head, we've not allocated anything.
Well, can we leave the allocation of this one then until we've decided what we're doing?
We could always add to it. I mean, we've done the same as we did last year.
We put £1,000 in the budget, so we've got that. So there's money there if we want to do some more.
Well, I just think we ought to be seen to be being fair-handed.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. If they want more, then they need to speak up and say so. This is just general. Money allocation.
There's no reason why we couldn't do the, a bit more.
Oh, no reason at all. We can, if we need to, but we need to also hear from Thornhill Head.
Yeah.
Pat needs to build a budget.
Okay, let's move on. Woodland development. This, I take it, is about what we haven't done.
Yeah, George wanted this put back on the agenda. We kind of put it on the back burner, hadn't we?
We had,
Um,
George wanted
there-
to put it on so he can take it off.
yeah. Well,
George wanted to
yeah.
discuss it, I know.
not a bad
He said
idea.
there were alternative, George, as I understand it, George said that there are alternatives and more economic sources to if you want to create work.
Yeah, well, he's been on about there's a different way to get the money. And up to now, nobody's actually given me any proof of where you can physically get the money beyond the ones that we've looked at.
Well, we looked at the one that George was interested in was the DEFRA one, and that's true. That you can get up to £10,000 for, I think, up to half an hectare. And that covers your expenses for up to 10 years.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
There's the offer that we got from DCC, which is much the same sort of cost. They would cover all of our costs. I mean, saying you can get up to £10,000 doesn't mean you get £10,000. That means it will cover your costs up to that amount. But we wouldn't be paying out that amount to cover the quarter of a hectare, I think, that we're talking about.
I mean, the biggest problem is we haven't decided whether to do it or not. Otherwise, George is
No, we
shooting
haven't.
down that he doesn't want to do that
Yeah.
particular field.
The first idea was that it was going to go in, call it Eric's field.
Yeah.
And then there was the sort of the field that you're giving up, or you and Fred are giving up.
Yeah.
George had an idea of putting it up at Thornhill Head, but in fact, it's far more difficult to get grants for putting them up on areas like that, because you've got the SSSI up there. They're more interested in converting agricultural land than they are those sort of areas.
Yeah, they're not worried
Common
about
land.
their side because they've got it already.
Yeah, but the rest of it's then common land, and you can't get the grants for common land in the same way that you can for
It's far more complicated.
agricultural.
Trying to do anything up there.
yeah.
I don't know. We put it on the back burner with Ukraine and
Mhm.
being where we are. I'm not certain that we're any further forward, to be quite honest, with food production and what we should be doing with the land. Whether we should be doing any more woodland. Nationally, I don't even know what we should be doing.
Mm.
We've
I
got,
think you should leave it on the back burner.
well, we've got. I don't know whether anybody seen the news in the southeast of the cornfields where the maize is much bigger than a big fat cigar. You know, it's all, we're in real trouble with food.
Well, it's a lot closer than that, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But
The box people
Yeah.
down at South Devon, Darlington,
yeah.
you know, their maize has failed. Their carrots, their potatoes. Well, they usually deliver 20,000 boxes a week.
Mm.
They haven't got no water in the reservoir. He's dry as a bone.
Well, I think that, as David said, I think it should just go back on the back burner at the moment. 'Cause,
Yeah, put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I'm not certain we should be planting woods at this moment in time until the government can sort itself out and decide where food needs to go.
You wouldn't want to be putting hundred trees in this.
Right, the next item is members' reports. David?
No.
No.
Trevor?
I thought I had, but I
Yeah,
forgot.
well, we still need more patching done everywhere in the parish. It's, you know, what they've done there, they just as well have tarmacked the whole lot. I think they probably filled in the drain now down Orleale.
I don't think they have. I don't think anybody's uncovered it.
Well, I see the stone tarmac now right into the foot of the edge. Well, that's that one full up, man. But yeah,
There's a couple of drains around.
well, they haven't touched Tillycat Bridge anyway. That's the main one.
No, and they haven't touched it, the main on it, and they haven't
But,
done it.
Got a bit of table over it.
put a bit of tape over it.
Well, I haven't done any of the,
They haven't done anything yet, no.
Glen Bridge is still damaged, and Uber's Water Bridge is still damaged. If you stop and have a look at it,
Yes,
you'll
it's
find a
zigzag
whole
crack,
big
right.
section that's all broken away.
failed
It's just
to
moved over
That
sideways for a
was
minute,
gapped open about that.
till somebody else goes in, tap and falls in a river.
Not worth repairing it until the building work's finished, is it?
I think,
When's that gonna happen?
I think the
Which-
I
pavement,
meant the bigger
Which
estates.
decade is that gonna
But
happen?
the big estates.
I believe the pavement's already cracking up at Orley Close, where the lorries is going in and out.
Close lorries have stopped.
You know, there'd be still a load of lorries going in.
Yeah, yeah.
Something I did think about, this is kind of linked into that as well, is that maybe it might be an idea for us to put something in the village scene or something on the website, perhaps, just to remind people what we kind of suggested and kind of put in place for the local plan all those years ago.
Yeah, what we got.
Permanently.
Hmm?
It's permanently on the website.
It's on there, yeah.
It's on the website, it's permanent. The settlement plan is on the website. It's all there. And all the sections that were agreed in terms of the district plan are all there. There's no secret. It's all very accessible.
No, because there've been some comments in there about kind of agreeing to all these developments.
Well, yeah, but they
Yeah,
were here in 2013
Yeah,
when we had mass meetings to agree on.
yeah, I know.
It was down to sorry.
Language.
Well, I just get annoyed with them. They come in and think, you know, they change their mind. We should say to them, the question you should say, you should have employed a solicitor, because the solicitor should have found out about all the developments.
How do you know it's people who come in?
Oh, yeah.
Let's not get, whoa, let's not get,
And
let's not get into all this, because there's no point. The problem is still the 5-year lack of land.
Yeah.
5 years, yeah.
That's a big problem for everybody in this area.
And
Until the likes of Torridge and North Devon could sort themselves out,
Yeah,
very probably.
Chair, everybody blames them, and I was appalled by the members of Parliament's comments in the paper last week. It's all Torridge's fault because they can't get a 5-year land supply. What do? Beg, borrow, go out and try and,
Oh, well,
you know, it's not
Jim,
easy.
I'm well aware
And
of
you
what's
know
going
also,
on.
because you know about it, Torridge have started fishing in terms of finding out post-2031 who's got land and what's building them. And we know there are 2 developers in this parish that I think have put their names forward in terms of land that they want to develop. Now, my own view is, as far as Buckland, because we tried to stop Southwood Meadow, because we knew that was a development too far, still is a development too far. But at the end of the day, you know, we've got resources in the village and they're limited. We've got access to the village which is limited also. And it's a daft policy. It really is stupid to say to a council like Torridge, which is not very wealthy and not very big, you've got to get your act together, you've got to get 5 years on 5 years supply. And it's nigh impossible. They went up to appeal in Torrington recently, and the government inspector said, no, you haven't, you still haven't got 5 years. So the government inspectors who keep telling them they haven't got 5 years, what are they to do?
I'm not arguing with that. All I'm saying is that that's what happened at this instant in time. Somebody has to change it at some level of the government.
Well, the government can change it, that's the government, because
I'm
it's
sure they can. But until somebody shouts in their ear constantly that it needs to change.
And the other thing is they can't differentiate between 5 years supply, which is urban land and which is rural land. That's the other daft thing. It's just 5 years in the boundary of Torridge District Council. Crazy.
But that's the big problem we have, which you'll see in a minute. Anything else? Trevor?
No.
I think that's something wrong with what it was.
Same with me.
Only that during the beacon lighting,
Yeah.
you were talking to people
what needs to be done to it then?
I don't know.
The French, when they do it, they don't have a pit.
No.
It's done on the stony ground.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
quite hard, it's quite firm.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Surface.
Oh, I've never played ball on a thing like that before. Yeah, you just need a.
Well,
a
we were
firm-
led to believe that it should be built in this way, and so
All right.
it was done that way. And then, of course, when you go to try it, you throw the ball and it goes plop.
Yeah.
The problem is as well, it's becoming a cat's toilet.
Well, it's got
Well,
a lot of
you won't be able to stop that.
Maybe it's not so much sand.
Well, yeah, it looks a bit like a litter tray, doesn't it? It's a very large litter tray. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's fine chippings really, rather than.
Mm.
Well, it doesn't need the depth of what's there. Okay.
What's underneath that? Is it just soil, or is there a hardcore surface?
I need to talk to David about it.
David?
David Brown.
David Brown, okay. I've got a meeting up there with him.
Weed mashing and all sorts in there, so.
But is it something we could do if,
It is my biggest problem at the moment, which makes life more difficult, so we probably have to get somebody in and take it away.
but we would consider it, that's the answer.
Oh, yeah, yeah, but again, you'd be looking for money out of your kit to do it, so it swings around a bit at the moment, but I need to talk to David.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, sorry, just wondered how you got on with Ross?
I haven't submitted the claim
No?
yet.
Okay.
I will do. I was waiting for a quote from Matt Fry. I've got that now, but I just haven't got round to submitting the claim. I'll do that this week.
Is it
But I don't foresee a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting 150 for our maintenance grant, 200 to cover the cost of equipment, stuff that you've bought, and also the helmets that Andrew's brought, and another 200 for Matt Fry to do back lane. So I'm hoping to get about 550 out of it. Yeah.
We've always had a good relationship with Pierce's through Paul Knox, and we've always been able to get hold of Paul instantly, really. I've never had any trouble getting hold of Paul at all, and he's always been very helpful, listened to our complaints or concerns and acted on them. Alison Holmes, we know nothing about, and I think it's time we actually contacted them and say who is their liaison officer or liaison manager for the works that are being carried out in Orley Close and Southwood Meadow, so that we've got someone we can talk to. I mean, Trevor mentioned the pavements. Well, we should be saying to Alison Holmes, you've got to make those pavements good. Now, you know, I don't know much about them. They've moved into the area quite recently. They're having some punch-ups, certainly had a big punch-up in Winkling about a development down there. But I think it's really important that we try and build some sort of relationship with them, like we've got with Pierce's. Also, as we know, there are 15 affordable houses. Some of the staff sort of half mortgage, half rent, but most are rented houses going into those two developments. Still
17.
don't know the housing associations. I'll be trying to find out. But it'll be useful if we build, we made some contact with them to find out what's going on and what their timescales are, etc., etc. Because all we picked up is second-hand that they're going to build brothels before they build chapels. Yeah.
On that same subject, I only thought today, it's time we actually sat there and decided what we want in the way of housing, and built, as you say, a contact list, but also, I mean, I'd like to see houses facing a more convenient way so solar panels can go on every one, rather than some of these that are end-on and no good at all for solar panels. I think it's just one or two things that we could put together as a policy document for the parish council.
No problem, nothing wrong with that. Because as far as 2031 is concerned, we're more or less there. There's going to be virtually no more houses built large scale anyway, until after 2010.
Okay.
Except for the factory.
Pardon?
Oh, yeah, if I don't go there, factory,
Right, it's got planning permission, so.
yeah, it's got planning permission, but when, yeah. Right, there's another few points. We were going to have a presentation of the emergency community plan to the parish council. Is that still going ahead at some stage?
I hope so. I haven't heard yet what stage we're at, Joe.
Well, I was expecting it to be on the agenda for today, to be honest, but, you know, obviously you've got full agenda, so we'll just suggest it on next month's.
I've still got some comments I was going to send and I haven't done it yet, I have to say, because I've been up to
Have you had many comments at all? Because Pat asked us.
Yeah.
You got mine?
I'd like some comments.
You got mine?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were at the meeting anyway, didn't we? So you gave us the feedback there and then. So what we do need some help with is putting some names in the frame, really, for the
Yeah.
recovery.
Well,
Yeah, well, there's some names in here. I've
There's a few things that want discussing as well, so we'll probably have to have another meeting to iron it in bits and pieces, won't we?
So if I just liaise with Pat and sort out
Yeah,
the next week.
but not too quick. Yeah, we'll have to have another meeting just to iron it the odd bits and pieces, won't we?
perhaps it might, because it's a big piece of work, we just don't want to shove it to the end
No,
of
no, no,
the
no.
agenda.
I'm not saying that.
It might be worth waiting and put it on a reserve day, you know,
Yeah,
the reserve Thursday.
I would have a special meeting for it anyway. You don't want everyone.
But we're ready.
Yeah, I think
You're ready to do the next bit, are you, Joe? Well, let's.
it will be September, won't it? And
Well, if Joe's ready now, we can set a date for
yeah, but why don't we do it the last Thursday in September, fourth Thursday in September?
September. That's a long way off.
Yeah, but I mean, August is we're still into August, you know. We've got our due on the 24th, and then we've got
29th of September.
yeah.
Then we'll-
Yeah, everyone happy with that?
That gives members time to send their comments to Joe,
Yeah,
right?
I'm listening.
And written comments to Joe, as Pat asked, and for Joe to collect them and include them in her report. Or not include them in the report, depending on what they think.
Yeah.
Right, next point.
Yeah.
The small gate now is open onto the amenities field.
Yeah.
We need a sign on there saying no dogs. We've got a sign on the other one. So we need just no dogs, please. We can get one of them on the internet, can't we, Pat?
Yeah, I can get one of these easily. Yeah.
You want one made up and,
No, we just buy
sure,
Yeah.
make one up and encapsulate it and stick it on there?
No, I'll get a proper sign.
Yeah, proper plastic.
Yeah.
The other thing is flying a kite. We had
What, you want something about kites?
no, it's I'm flying a kite. We had we were talking about, Andrew was there, I was there, Pat was there, and we were talking about, there was a problem with a pensioner in the village, and in terms of getting access to his house because he'd had a serious fall and the
Yes.
actual pathway was not suitable for whatever. And in a way, it mirrors the education fund. We set up an education fund through the parish council, which has been very successful, and it's got legs and now it runs itself. And we wondered if it was worth looking at the possibility of some social fund whereby people who are struggling, pensioners, you know, especially as there is a move to keep people in their own homes and service them by people coming in caring associations and care companies coming in and looking after them. Whether there was any mileage in thinking how we could create it, or if we wanted to create it, but it revolved around an incident in the village, and we thought, is this something that the parish council could look at in terms of the income it receives and help?
Like a social fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got that old age problem that parish councils can't give money to individuals. So it would be exactly like the Education Support Fund. We'd have to have a separate organisation. Parish council could give money to the organisation, but it would be up to the organisation to dish its money out as and when.
So we'd set up a separate committee, like we did with the education.
Mm.
And you would make it grant to it.
Yeah.
From the parish council to it, and then it was.
Yeah, and it could raise funds from other grants and donations in the same way that anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you use this fund for?
Anyway, the particular incident that Jim's referring to is that the individual involved has had a fall, and the ground outside his front door, from his front door to the road, is not suitable for him to be able to walk on. And he was asking for either a small area to be tarmacked or concreted from his front door to the road, so you've got a smooth area to walk on with a walking frame, or a wheelchair to get in, because you'd struggle with a wheelchair as well. And it's a question of, it's not much money. Some of the parish had actually raised some money, and it's just a question of topping it up from parish council. They were only looking at, I don't know, £300, £400, £500.
Because things like that ought to be provided by social services,
Mhm.
by the council.
I don't know whether you get required with doing permanent things like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, they should.
What should does happen, David, is two different.
Oh, well, I fully know that, but
rather than argue about where the money can come from or whether you can get it from social, it's more a question that I'm giving you one example. There could be other examples of people needing a small amount of money that would make a huge difference to their way of life. It might be that they need, I don't know, transport, anything. And if we've got a small fund that people can deal with, they may want something altering in the house, may want handrails in the house. I know that gets down to individual, gets a little bit, but once you've got...
David's right. For things like handrails, the social services can liaise with the district council to have that work done.
I'm not arguing
yeah.
what they should be doing, what they could do. It's only a question if they're not going to,
Yeah.
you need a backup.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You need evidence that all other resources have been investigated.
There's a normal circuit that has to go.
Yeah.
Which is social care first, and then it comes back. If everything's negative there, then they've got something else to fall back on.
Right, okay.
Well, we're not talking very much. If we set a fund up and we put, I don't know, £500 in it, and then we've got to work out a criteria of when.
Who's going to oversee it?
Well,
We're going to make a decision.
we can
Yay or nay.
we can get 2 or 3 people together who actually deal with that, and we can get it okayed.
I've got a problem with that, but it's just it's almost doing something that other organisations should be doing.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
And
But
that's
then they're not.
That's why.
My wife and I have been waiting 6 weeks to get an occupational therapist appointment. And they are the ones that should be supplying handrails, Zimmer frames, commodes, whatnot, but you can't get them. You ring them up and you say, can you come and see us? And they'll make an appointment for 6 weeks.
You know why you can't do it?
I don't know, but
Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens with walking sticks and walking frames?
yeah, they don't take them back.
No, don't take anything back.
I understand.
They've stopped doing it. It's a scandal. It really is. They won't take any of this stuff back.
Anyway,
But yeah, I'm with you, Jim. I just think that something could be done.
perhaps we can...
Going back to if it's in the conservation area,
Whoa, where did that come from?
I don't know. I don't want to ask where the house is.
Oh, right,
But,
okay. Yeah.
It's about doing over cobbles, for instance?
No, it's not.
And is
No,
it they're on their own property?
I'm not going to get into who. Yes, it is, and I'm not going to get into who it is
No,
because it's not
I'm
necessary.
asking.
But
No, I don't
it's,
know.
it won't disrupt any of the permanent stuff within the village. What's down there now hasn't been down that long. But no, it won't. Either you want to do it or you don't. We can pass this on and we can come back to it at a later date if you
Can we just put it on the shelf?
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to Pat, we'll
Have a thing.
have a look at actually operate.
But it's the type of thing that the Parish Council should be doing, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is, yeah.
I just think that we.
If we're not here for that, then what are we here for?
Well, it's one of those things that we could be headed in a way, whether we like it or not. All I'm saying is put a provision in for a small amount of money, and then we'll test the waters and see where it goes. Well, whatever the money is, I don't mind that, Jim. It doesn't, it's irrespective of what that is. It's
But we'd have to set it up separate to the parish council, so
Yes.
Pat can make it grand.
yes,
Okay, all right.
I have a thing.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting, Pat.
We don't kick it down the line for too long.
No. We'll come up with ideas that are
It's just supposed to put a framework together that falls in with everything else. You finished them, or you got more?
No, that's it.
No, nobody came to me with any complaints or whatever, so.
Oh, that. These are all right.
Yeah, they're all right, that's on there.
Okay, let's move on to planning now. A is an application, land of tenement park, erection of 2 new bungalows. And the statement from the planning office is that this is outside the planning proposal or outside the planning boundary.
Correct.
So I look for comments.
I think we should do the same as what we've done for the 3 that were just been erected.
Pardon?
I think we should do the same as what we've done for the 3 that have just been erected.
But we've also agreed, well, we've also agreed to build a bungalow off of, South Meadows.
Sorry?
So,
Yeah, we passed it. We supported it. Yeah. We supported it.
so,
Well, that's outside the district, outside the plan. It was.
I mean, you look at them individually, you can't do precedents like that easily.
Yeah. I mean, my own view, I mean, it's tough, you're right, but with the 5-year housing supply, it will go through without problems.
This, I think, is the last 2 they want to put there, isn't it?
I have seen a comment. Somebody put a comment on there, and the planners responded to it to say they've been assured that this would be the last 2 to go on that.
I think that's
Fine.
where I read it.
But I mean, you know,
No.
that's not logical to me, but they are.
That's what the road there, and that bit's over there. That bit's over there.
But I'm just thinking, what's this is all
Exactly.
something for the future, is it going to be just access to this bit?
There's an additional, on this plan, there's an additional,
Oh, come on.
yeah, look at that. That's an additional,
Wiggle it.
Oh, wiggling.
entrance for another property.
Well, that's I've looked at that, and that looks like that's the entrance he's given himself to get into the rest of the field, because the entrance at the moment is going to be taken up by the first one of those 2 properties.
But these sort of houses would bring wealth to the village.
It's outside the district plan and always has been. Those 3 were outside.
Yeah, that one, and these 2 are outside.
Yeah.
The 3 are on here, aren't they, inside the district?
There you go.
So, any more comments?
What did we say about the other 3, Jack?
No, we proposed that it should be refused on the outside ones, on that it was
Yeah.
in outside the plan, the boundary.
No.
So who's for and who's against? It's going to come down to that.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree, really, he's outside the plan, isn't it?
So,
What was really outside the plan now, I think makes it interesting. It'll go through, so I don't think
well, on appeal it will anyway, but
it'll go through on appeal, I'll put it through anyway.
If we don't do something about it, we'll just be concreting all over the parish.
if you want to rip up the plan that we did and throw it in the bin, or you stick to what we started with, it's one or the other.
Well, I
Well,
can remember the plan saying they were never going to object to it, Phil.
I don't call that infill when it's not appeal.
And the thing is, they're getting away without any, low cost housing or whatever, because they're doing it in dribs and drabs.
Oh yeah.
3 here,
Keep
3
under
there,
five.
2 here, and
Keep under 5 and we'll do anything.
gets them out of that, and it's not right.
Okay, so we come down to
Well, I
vote.
think in fairness to George, I think, let's remember, you built Hill Park, you've got a new village hall out of it, you've got an extra playing field.
The other thing is, Trevor, even if you take those 3, right, and those 2, that's 5. That still don't produce you a social house.
No, it don't, because
No,
they've been
you
put
still
in
wouldn't
different
get
times.
No, sorry. They're building 5 behind me. And
Well, that's the reason
well,
why.
yeah, I know, and that doesn't produce a social house either.
No, it's more than.
Yeah, more than 5.
Yeah.
But even if you count these 3, that won't produce you.
Yeah, well, there's the other
No, no,
3
no.
to start
No,
with.
the other 3 on the top are inside the plan.
Yeah.
The 3 where John Bridge lives are inside the plan. You go back and look at the settlement plan. They're inside the settlement plan.
The plan line was just below.
Because
Just
there was
below.
an argument, George wanted to get access through Leon's, and Leon wouldn't give it to him. So that's why he went round that way.
No.
But the actual 3 bungalows where John Bridge lives is inside Torridge Development Plan.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, always was.
Yeah, nobody's arguing with that. We're talking about this.
No, but I'm saying that even those 5 houses wouldn't produce a social house. That's the point.
No, because it's over 5.
Yeah.
All you hear in this village is people moaning because there's too many buildings,
Okay.
and it's got to stop sometime. So I'm going to propose that we recommend refusal.
Well, I'm going to ask for a vote here, either for or against. And we'll do it that way. So those that wish to approve 2 more bungalows, if you put your hands up, please. Well, that's 4. There's only 3 of us here. So that's an approval. So 4-3. I'm not going to use a casting vote because that would just put it there in the middle.
Well, you don't get a casting vote.
Well, even if I could, it'd just put it
No,
there.
no, No, okay. Yep.
Which is nowhere.
Do you want to make any comments?
Yeah, they're too big.
Oh,
Too big?
They're obviously
They're
built.
huge.
They're built for the money, people.
But doesn't that encourage well to the village?
No, what does that do, Richard?
Well, maybe a
I'm not gonna-
permanent shop.
Why does that? Look, when they built all the houses down by the village hall, all I heard was it'll bring people into the pub and the shop. And we've got a pub down here that no buggers going in, and a shop that can't even afford to break
There's no
even.
one going in there, but that.
They're not.
Yeah, but there's a reason for it, isn't there? But that's
Well,
not-
no, there's a reason you don't go in, and maybe a few others don't go in, for whatever reason that may be.
I'll play you my recordings one day. Smartwatches, very good.
I'm aware of what may or may not have taken place, but that was always going to be, all this year, if you build something, it'll improve the village. It doesn't. It's all a fallacy.
But all
I think
hear
you're
is-
being a
is
little
just
bit
how you
hard
add
there.
houses
I
anyway.
think you're being a little bit
I'm
hard.
not, you're going to ask Oliver.
There are people who've come in this village who are making a big contribution to village life. I think
But-
you want to look at who, you're a prime example, Richard,
Thank you for that.
But
and
a
they're
bigger,
more like
bigger,
you.
more expensive property. So do you want to make a distinction between a 300,000 and a 500,000
I don't,
pound
I
house?
think if you look at the
Nobody's
people who
mentioned the
live in
precept,
Hill
how
Park,
much more money we'll get out of them.
who are just as community minded and who help in the community,
Yeah,
and they
but-
aren't living
But
here.
there's no, my point, Barbara, is there's no guarantee, because we've not seen it in the past, that anybody coming into the village afresh is going to make any contribution. And I'm talking about new housing, I'm not talking about Richard who's bought a house already that's been built since 1930 or whatever it was. I'm talking about new property, and new property doesn't necessarily bring more wealth to the village. It may social, but it doesn't produce anything more but a village shop and a pub. Because none of us use the shop of any large degree. We still go shopping in Asda or Morrison's or whatever.
Well, look at what we've got. I'm sorry, Joe, I'm sorry to drag you in, but look, Jo moved in to Hill Park and she's going to be our clerk next month.
I'm not arguing with
And
that.
it's safe, we haven't got to go out of the village to find
And
one.
it's still,
I'm a newbie, I've been here 16 years, but I'm still a newbie.
So,
Yeah, we know.
I've been here since 1970.
You want to
What
make it
is the real
available for
objection to the
everybody
house
to come to.
that village expanding?
Sorry?
What is the real objection to the village expanding?
It already has dramatically. It's time it's slow. We have a boundary around it that's in place till 2031. If you don't stick to that boundary, then you might as well open the doors anywhere and just put a brick wall.
But Andrew, we've been here with Southwood Meadow.
I know.
And it's a government policy. We fought tooth and nail to stop Southwood Meadow because we said, that's it, that's enough. And we got rolled. We got rolled.
That doesn't mean you have to roll over on everything.
No,
If you're
no.
not going to stick to your boundary, then you wasted all that time that was put in place doing it in the first place, and you might as well not bother with the next one. Be a free for all.
But you want a mix of properties to enable everybody to be able to come to Buckland.
But that
Not-
only happens when you have big developments.
My biggest
Small developments, it doesn't
No,
happen.
I know, that's what I'm
If
saying.
somebody comes into the village and decides, I've got a prime example, I've got a field down here. So if I sell it to somebody who wants to put a £500,000 house on it, outside the planning,
They get away with that, I guess.
Yeah.
I was told I wouldn't, but somebody else has money,
Well, Bob got away with it.
with enough money to push it, with enough money to push it, they
Bob
might
got
go
away with
with
it.
it. I'm aware of that, but I won't say any more about it.
I mean, that's outside the district plan.
I know. Anyway, we are going round and round in circles. We've already decided what's going on here. The application's been agreed. So we move on. The next one is for 3 Ashton's Road, first floor dormer conversion. Anybody looked?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, have a look.
Oh, no, that's
Agree.
Okay, support.
Yeah.
Old Village Hall, proposed internal and external alterations to property.
I can see the external differences. I looked at it.
no, it's very much.
It's a
very
flue,
minor,
that's all it
isn't
is.
It's boiler, isn't it?
A flue and a new door.
And?
It's a flue in the ceiling, in the roof, and a new door.
And a new door.
Yeah.
Mm.
Support.
Yeah.
Yes.
Decision, Hillmore, demolition and replacement of existing garage, granted permission.
Over you go.
What do you want us to do with this one? Sorry, Chair. This is the Brendan Cleve, Buckland Brewer.
Yeah.
Hang on, we haven't got there yet. God, blimey. Decision, land adjacent to Southwood Meadow, erection of dwelling, granted permission.
Yeah.
That's the one you want
Okay.
to just now.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah, this one, the Brendan Cleve one is not on the agenda,
No,
but I've,
That's right, yeah.
that's the existing agenda item.
yeah, obviously it's only just come in. The closing date is the 1st of September, so it would be before the next meeting.
Are you going to have your next meeting?
Well, no, because we will miss the consultation period. So the question is, do you want to deal with it now, or do you want a special meeting?
Trev, you're up to speed on this. You know that the agricultural buildings converted to dwellings, wasn't there a caveat on them that they should be built for people who were associated with the farm, or like, well, similar to your brother's experience?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
So you can actually build them and use them as holiday?
Yeah. As long as you build it within the curtilage. Yeah.
If you come into the village fresh and buy that piece of land with a long farm,
Because that's holiday, isn't it?
you can do what you want within reason.
That's holiday, isn't it?
Hmm.
I mean,
Where's
they
that
sell.
to?
Brendan.
Brendan.
Have you seen Trev?
I haven't seen that one. I might have.
I'd say that.
Oh, this is the one that's being
Brilliant.
built in a shed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
converted, well, built in.
Looks like a lot of stables, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It does look like a block.
that's holiday homes, isn't it?
Where's Brendan Clean?
Well, I think it's, you know, the contractor from Bood who went in the top, opposite Old Down Lane, more or less.
Yeah.
There's a road put in
Right.
next to.
There's the
Johnny
location
Tucker's
pan,
field.
if that helps.
And there was a shed built in there, because I think Babley's on that part of the ground, someone said was on for sale anyway, which is next to this, but that's,
Well, do you want to deal with it now is the pertinent question.
Well, if it's moving the curtilage, then.
It's one of those that,
what did it say?
because of the location, I think it's highly unlikely that any members of the public are going to get involved with it. The only person really interested is the person themselves who's putting the application in. So the fact that it won't get a public airing, as it were, isn't too much of a problem to me.
Well, it's going to be holiday then, isn't it? That's what I think.
Well, it is, yeah, but that's not for me to comment on. They're allowed to do that as long as they build within the
It
curtilage.
needn't necessarily be holiday, because it's Part 3 Class Q, which is what they're doing for farm buildings.
Covers a multitude of sins, though, doesn't it, when they with that?
That doesn't stop them from being turned into holiday
No,
homes,
well,
does it?
don't stop it from being
No.
anything.
No.
That's just the regulations it comes under. It's got to still look like a farm building when they finish.
It was meant to be holiday accommodation, I thought that was supposed to be stated on the application.
Mr. Schofield.
Yeah.
It was George Schofield that lived
No,
out
yes,
there, wasn't it?
In the past,
Yeah,
in
but
the past they've asked,
Did it keep
I've
back
seen
a bit?
applications for by, particularly in Langton, that were applied for
Babley
holiday
Barton.
accommodation, because that was easy to get it passed,
yeah,
and then people
I
lived
know, I
in
saw
there.
it. That comes up so small on the I didn't bother to print it
that
out,
comes under different regulations and everything else.
but I can't
Once they
because my
converted
computer's
it, then they
playing up.
might apply for holiday. I think if you did it,
Sparrow
conversion of a
Terrace.
farm
Oh,
for holiday, you'd be in trouble.
goes with that
I
loft,
think
isn't
you've
it?
got to convert it to living birds. The problem with a lot of these conversions is that you can't go outside the ground print of the building. So if you have a building that size, you can only build
On that side.
within it. You can't suddenly go out and build a bit outside of it, including the garden. All has to fall within the footprint of that building. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful regulations on it. It's very strange.
We don't have to worry about that, though.
No, we don't.
We just,
You either approve this or
we just
not.
need
need to
Well,
make
like
a
you
comment.
say, it's a steel frame shed
Approve it, or if you're going to support it
being
or not.
Yeah,
converted.
it's just a yes or no.
Well, I think it's a bit more than converted, isn't it? It's gonna,
Does it matter?
by the looks of it.
Does it matter is the question. You
No,
can
that's
ask.
right.
What do we want? Do we want the barn to stay as it is, or do we want it to be converted?
Yeah.
It's not going to,
You're going to support it or not?
Yeah, I'd say support.
you'll get it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna-
We'll support that and please, Pat. I'll get that over and done with.
Fine.
Good.
Account receipts and payments.
With you in just a second.
Have you made a profit, Pat?
I make a profit every month, Fritz.
That's what we
I consider it my job to make a profit. Right, those are your figures for the current month.
Can I just ask a question? Everything that comes through in the way of planning always has your old address on it.
It does, doesn't it? Can I ask you a question? How many times do I have to ask somebody to change it before they change it? I've got up to 17 so far. I've got to the stage now where I'm thinking it won't matter because it won't be my address to.
It's going to have a big change. It's gonna
Yeah,
have to be.
absolutely. I have told them, I've told them time and again, and they still don't do it. I think it's on a different system.
It's going to be interesting if this Joe on the top is still your address.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Put some rumours around there.
It will, yeah.
Right, well, this month we received £11,500 from Torridge Council. So you've now got £26,000 actually in the bank account for your general account. 7 odd in the Thornhill Head and still 47 in your savings account. In terms of your fund balances, you have 62.5 in your general account. But we will be spending some of that soon. And £18,000 in Thornhill Head. And we haven't received this year's RPA payment yet. These are the payments that have gone out or are going out this month. So there's my salary, Heartbeat Trust for the defibrillator, pipe laying work, etc. done by Mills, an allotment deposit refund. Plot 7B, no, plot 7 has been split. If you remember, we were talking about maybe even splitting them down to quarters if necessary. I got a request from the person who was top of the list, who had been talking to the tenant at plot 7, saying, would we mind if we split it back down to 2 half plots, because it always used to be anyway. And both parties were quite happy with that, so I've split 7 now. We have a 7A and a 7B again, and they're sharing the shed. Okay?
And they came over to me with the black plastic.
Oh, that's right, yes, I told.
And they have taken away half the black plastic.
Oh, right.
And returned the other half to me.
Okay.
So I have half and
You've got half a sheet left.
half a sheet. I have to do half and half.
Okay, it's worth knowing.
They said, what should they do? And I said, bring it back to me, and if somebody else wants it,
It can come back out.
We know where it's gone, rather than left up there.
Yeah.
Rolled in and
Well, on top of it.
If that gets used, we should buy another one, shouldn't we? So that we've got it available if people need it. Buckland Brewer Methodist Church hall hire, that's £334. That covers just the period from January to now. So there will still be some more to come for the rest of this year.
Ain't cheap, is it?
I do think you should know that it's costing £28 a night for these meetings.
You pay extra for live streaming and live.
Yeah, we're paying. Yeah.
Not the pub, that's all. Anyway.
Oh, it's shown on the invoice as equipment, use of equipment.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's
What, the live streaming?
the live streaming.
Okay.
Do we have to have that?
Well, the live streaming.
Yeah.
We don't have
No.
to.
No.
I
I
can
mean,
easily
you
not
can
put it
come
on.
and
We're not
if you're really
legally-
interested. You
We're
can
not
come and
legally
sit.
bound, we're not legally bound.
Are you able
Somebody else do
to
anything.
see how many people use it, who look at it?
People do, yeah.
You got any record of how many people are on
I
watches?
can look, I can see, yeah.
Give us a shout and tell us
Yeah,
what we've got on
I
it.
can have a look and see. But people do look at it. But it's why it's important to speak into the microphone, really, because they can see it.
Oh, yeah,
They may not be able to hear it.
Hmm.
We don't do that.
Okay,
And then the monthly bill for British Gas.
yeah.
A little bit more this month than normal because we used some power on the day of the fete. That's only a couple of pounds.
Okay.
So, who's happy to propose that
Yeah,
for me? Barbara had her hand up first, so I'll put you down the second to Jim. And then coming in, we had £107.50 worth of allotment rents and deposits, as I say, because we split up 7B, 7, and £11,406.29 for the Section 106 grant. Now there was it's not on the agenda because I didn't know what was going on with Fresh Air Fitness, but some of you went to a site meeting.
Yes, we did, yeah.
I'm afraid I couldn't get there. I was in two other different places at the same time.
Very nice young man.
Yeah, sorted.
Coming. September-ish?
Well, he's emailed me again today to say, sorry, I haven't been able to give you a date yet, but he's waiting for the operations team to tell him.
He made an assumption it would be around that time,
Right,
around September.
that's September time.
It was an assumption on his part, nothing fixed.
Okay.
Email you, ring you. We've agreed where and what and how. And we'll meet with them. We'll give you a shout and meet when we start to lay it out. So we're
Okay.
happy to make sure it's all laid out in the right place.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Did you talk at all about a path between the gate and that area?
That's not in his quote,
No, it's not.
so it's something that we may have to deal with.
Yeah. I think you said at the time that you probably do that yourselves anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we probably can. It's only, I mean, you have a choice of whether you do it as a concrete or a tarmac or a pebble.
Mhm.
Whatever
Yeah.
path you want.
Yeah. Probably needs it though, doesn't it? Needs something.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
You've got to keep your mud off of it. There's no point in having a grassy, muddy patch inside the gate that traipse all over the
No.
nice, clean, broad surface.
Okie doke.
But no, it was all right. Nice man.
And last but not least, you had a budgetary control report for the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah,
Sorry, you should have got that last month, but I was a bit inundated last month.
got it up and on.
Anyone happy with that?
Yeah,
Yeah, no questions? Very little to say really about the first 3 months because not a lot happens. Okay, right, that's it.
Can I ask the chair that people part with their cash as they leave to give it to the secretary?
Is that it then?
She'll need to know when they're going to do any work, if they're going to bring a machine in, she'll have to bring their ambulance again.
Yeah, I will let everybody know as soon as I've got a date.
Well, Paul Knoll said they've finished.
Oh yeah, they won't be.
Yeah, no, it's the air ambulance we need to think about.
No, it's their ambulance, like I said. Trevor and I went down and put some water around the trees.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big arc, but we'd forgotten all about it as well. Hopefully if we get some water this weekend, we won't need them again, but
Right.
if we don't, it may.
I think Richard you did it as well, didn't you? Yeah.
There's a bit that, sorry,
I'm doing the trees in the corner of the field anyway.
it's a tree.
Yeah, no, I'll do that.
The
Apple
bit
trees.
that we thought of when we went down is we haven't had any agreement from Pierce's about hedge that they went through.
Right, okay,
We have a bare hedge
right.
that could do with some grass spreading on it, and we've still got an area that was unturfed coming out of there.
Right.
But we need some talk with Pierce's about replanting that hedge in the autumn. No good now,
No.
but
He may well have it
he may.
on his list of things to do, but I will contact